that, what's the biggest thing that stood out to you after watching film and being with the coaches and digesting that game a little bit that really kind of, made you guys think maybe we need to work on this a little bit or work on that a little bit?
I think, honestly, the best thing that happened for me was self-awareness, self-evaluation. I'm the head coach. It starts and stops with me. And I became results-driven. I became, hey, we're winning. That guy's not wearing the right equipment. It's okay, we're winning. Hey, that guy didn't run through the line. Yeah, no, we're winning, though. Like, just be careful on that. Hey, he didn't tag off the right way. He wasn't in a good football position. He'll do it in the game, though, because we're winning. And I became results-driven. All that time leading up to, we were process-driven. You're going to do it right all the time. And as a human being, sometimes that stuff happens, and I'm the leader of it, and that's what happened. I started to let things start to slide, maybe that I started to see that we hadn't done early. We certainly didn't do it their fall camp. We certainly didn't do it through the first 2 games of the year, and we played well. We played really well in all phases of the game. And so we got back to that. It was a good awareness for me. So it's not so much necessarily what our players are doing or not doing. It had a lot to do with what I was allowing and not allowing, what the assistant coaches were allowing and not allowing. And so we identified that, corrected it, and it's been awesome. Been a great week.
So it's just the, paying attention to details, like all.
Yeah, but it's even more than that. It's just doing things right. It's being on time. It's paying attention. It's writing notes. It's more than just that, and when we do those types of things, we can also, as players, we've talked about this with the Unity Council or leadership and captains, of holding them accountable. When they see a guy not doing something right, then address it, right? It doesn't have to be a coach. It doesn't have to be the quarterback. It doesn't have to be the middle linebacker. Leadership is a moment in time. That's it. It's one moment in time when you can influence your team. You're a leader then, whatever that is. And so we needed to be better at that, and our team agreed to that. And again, that's why I think we've had a great week. Feel good about where we're at.
What have you seen from Louisiana that sticks out to you? Obviously some big wins for them in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, really good football team. I'm sure nobody's surprised about that. Very veteran offensive line. 4 of their 5 starters are redshirt seniors. They've been in the program 5 years. Quarterback's been in the program 7. Really good quarterback, smart, knows the offense, understands defense. You guys been playing for a while. And they are a unique system compared to what college football is. They huddle. They take their time. They're going to run the ball down our throat. At least that's their game plan, I would imagine, and take shots over our heads. So we've been preparing hard for that. Defensively, there are 4-down quarters with some pressure, some odd front, some cover 3 and some cover 1. So nothing that's very unique about them. They play hard. They're well coached. They're very sound on special teams. They got a really good kicker. He does an excellent job with them. They're a good football team. That's why they're 5-1.
Looking at their offense, is there anything that maybe reminds you of another team that you've played so far this season?
No, they're different. They're going to snap the ball. They're going to milk the clock. They're going to try to keep the ball away from the offense. They're the #1 team in the Sun Belt in time of possession for a reason. That's part of the MO. Play less snaps on defense, so your guys are fresh and fast, and it's a winning recipe for them right now.
Coach, homecoming always has a lot of distractions. Look back at some of the notes over the last couple of years. This program has struggled to pick up wins on homecoming. How do you keep your guys focused on the task at hand and not get surrounded by all this other stuff that's going on, and knowing that, hey, we still got to play a football game. We got to win because we haven't been able to do that over the course of a last couple of years?
I'll be honest, and I hate to say this to the media and get this out in public, but we haven't talked much about homecoming, to be honest. We really haven't. And I don't think they've had much time to even absorb much of the homecoming festivities. I told them the little bit we talked about, I said, you know what your job is for homecoming? Win the game. That's what your job is. So, but really we've addressed more of us We've addressed, Louisiana and what they do and how they do it and how to prepare for them and what we need to do to get back on the winning ways. So I think our guys are pretty locked into that right now, to be honest.
You talked about a good week of practice. Does it have to do with the fact that, you never want to lose a game, but sometimes when you lose a game the way you guys lost, it gets teams refocused and re-energized, lasered in? Is that what you've seen so far?
I think a little bit, to be honest. It humbles you. I think it was a not a worry, but it was a thought with James Madison. They got humbled at Monroe and woke up and came out a little different, right? So you certainly get humbled. You certainly realize that you can't just show up as a coach too, as me, played really well. Our quarterback played really well. We did really good things against Old Dominion. It's not just going to happen because you put on the teal and you go out on the surf turf. It's just not going to happen. You got to prepare for it.
Coach, got a question on here asking about Christian Washington's status that he didn't get a carry on Thursday night.
Yeah. It's a good question about Christian. Right now that, there's some stuff with Christian right now that we're dealing with, and I'll just kind of leave it at that.
And then a follow-up on that, Thomas Johnson that you had tested at center, is he a possibility for this week?
No, Thomas is out.
Do you have an idea how long Thomas may be out? Or just
He's kind of he's getting into, we got a bye week next week. Could he be back for the Troy game? A possibility, yeah. Like it's not a season-ending injury. It's more of a, he needed to do some rehabilitation, recover a little bit, and then from that, the tolerance, what he can tolerate. So that's going to be one of those, it's a 2 to 3 week recovery, and then see how he tolerates it.
Coach, I don't know how much fan base and that stuff gets to you on the interior, or even boosters and all that. Back around 2019-20, this was probably the biggest rivalry Coastal had in the conference, and there was a lot of back and forth between the teams. When Coastal backed out of the championship game, Louisiana people were saying they were scared, and then there was a lot of back and forth there. Have you even heard about the rivalry there was between the two teams in the past?
I have. One thing I do on Tuesday, I always give the scouting report to our team. And one of the things, the first thing I do when I start is just the history of the school, number one, like who they are, when they started, what's their colors, mascot, how it came about. I get into the sports aspect of it too as well within the football program. And one of the comments, or one of the highlights, I guess, I don't know if that's a highlight per se, but one of the bullet points was the 2020 season in the Coastal Carolina, and how Coastal Carolina was awarded the Sun Belt Conference Championship by the College Football Playoff Committee, and the mayor got upset and challenged the NCAA or something, and then declared they were the Sun Belt Conference Championships or whatever. Now, and that was 4 years ago, and a lot's changed in 4 years, but we're the Chants. Everybody hates the Chants, right? They all want, they all want to get us. This is no different. I know it'll be a hard-fought game. We're two very similar teams when you look at us. You look at our length, our athleticism, our style of play, our toughness, run the football first, play aggressive defense. Very similar teams, and I'm sure very similar fan bases as well. Passionate. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a hard-fought, physical, rated R game.
Coach, the challenges of playing a noon game?
Early. I mean, one thing, we're a morning practice team, so we're used to being up early, but it's just different. Most of the time, it's. I think players get into a routine. There's so many games they play at night. They're used to that. Somewhere between that, 11:30, 1:30, 1 o'clock. There's a downtime for the players, and a lot of times they just take a rest, maybe even take a quick nap, and then get up, and they know it's ready to go. They're going to lose that. Now you got to get up in the morning. We're playing. Like And so that's usually a little bit different. Sometimes you're always worried as a coach, are you going to start slow? And, you know, you don't want to do that. You can't come in and dip your toe in the water. You got to jump in and we got to go.
Anything else for Coach?
All good?
Thanks, Coach.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
thank you.
All right, guys, we got Tobias Fletcher, senior from Atlanta, Georgia, a career high 10 tackles on Thursday night. Questions for Tobias?
Tobias, can we just talk about team mentality kind of after that game and getting ready for this next big one?
You know, it's homecoming this week. It's the next game, so it's always important for us. You know, we're hungry coming off of L, JMU, so we want to really get that bad taste off our mouth. So,
You know, we talked after that game, and you know, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration from the defensive side. What's the biggest thing that you've seen this week in practice that makes you feel good about this team getting back to being zoned in to where you guys were earlier in the season about playing, you know, coastal defense?
in that game, last game, I feel like we didn't do a very good job tackling. This week, I feel like we're getting back to ourselves. We've done a good job tackling. Guys being more louder, knowing what they do. You know, younger guys knowing what they do. Just things like that. People are more locked in. That it's making like, oh yeah, like we're ready, we're prepared to win this ball game.
Looking at the film, what have you seen? I know Coach talked about it a little bit, but what have you seen from Louisiana's offense?
Just like Coach said, like they have a real veteran O-line. The quarterback, I think he's been there this like his 7th year, so he knows what he's doing. They're really good at running the ball. They have long, tall, lengthy receivers, so that's what I've seen on film.
Talking to some of the older guys, yourself included, but maybe some of the guys that were here in 2020, I know there's not a lot, but some of those guys that went through that and things along those lines, what's the biggest thing that they kind of said to you guys about just kind of what the rivalry was like and all that stuff that, you know, they went through in that December of 2020 with all that stuff with Louisiana, even though, as Coach alluded to, it's totally different than it was 4 years ago?
It hasn't been much said. Just like you said, like it's different now. We just know that they're probably gonna come in with a chip on their shoulder because of that game in 2020. So, you know, we're just ready to play. You know.
You got here in 2021. Do you remember during your recruiting or any of that, or when you first got here, did you hear anything about Louisiana and the dislike for them from the coastal fan base?
Yeah, I got here like a month after they're supposed to play in December the championship game, so I was following up and stuff like that. I watched the game they played when they beat them during the season and stuff like that. So, I mean, I kind of knew a little something was going on, but it hasn't been much said here since.
Yeah, the schedule makers have kind of killed it. They
Yeah.
haven't scheduled them since.
Coach alluded to the fact, you know, homecoming, you guys really haven't talked about it, things along those lines. You know, he didn't really want to say much about it, but from a football standpoint, I mean, that's what you guys are here for, is to win that game on Saturday and not really get involved with all that other stuff. Is that kind of what the feel in the locker room has been about, hey, let's not worry about whatever weekend it is. We have a job to do, let's go out and win this game.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It hasn't even really been feeling like homecoming, to be honest. You know, we're focused on getting that bad taste out of our mouth and trying to get this W. And yeah, like I said, it hasn't even really felt like homecoming. So, yeah.
Guys, playing an offense like Louisiana that's going to try to chew up the clock the way they do, how important is it for you guys to force 3 and outs and not allow them to keep your offense off the field like they want to try to do?
It's very important because our job is to get the offense the ball back. So we want to do that as fast as possible. You know, they gonna chew up the clock and stuff like that, try to slow things down. But yeah, it's very important because we want our offense to score. So in order to do that, we have to get the ball back to them.
After the way Thursday played out and you guys had some time to look back at it, is there anything you take away from a game like that that can kind of help you guys through the rest of the second half of the season?
Not really. It just more things that you have to get better at and work on throughout the week. And this week, like I said, we had to work on tackling and things like that. So just getting back to ourselves.
Anything else for the guys? All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rhonda, who's a sophomore from Langston, Pennsylvania, our offensive line that's currently one of only 7 in the country that's allowed 3 or fewer sacks this season. Top 5th in the country in that category.
When you go through a loss the way you guys went through and what you guys suffered on Thursday, confidence obviously can take somewhat of a hit, especially from a quarterback position. But what have you seen from Ethan that makes you believe that he's kind of flushed that game a little bit, or is he still kind of is he using that game as momentum? Has he kind of bounced back a little bit, knowing that wasn't the performance that he's accustomed to playing out there, and you guys as a unit too?
Yeah, I mean, Ethan's one of the most confident guys I know, and I've known that since he wasn't the starting quarterback last year when we had Grayson. He's still one of the most confident guys I've ever met, and games like that for Ethan, I wouldn't say they go under the rug, but he's a guy that can learn from it, and he's a guy that's tough, and he's a guy that's gritty, and he's a guy that's confidence in his line, his wide receivers, the core, and he has confidence in himself. So that's really important for him, and I'm grateful as an offensive lineman to have a guy like him behind me when it comes to confidence in himself and being able to move on, flush it, get to the next game.
What is his message to you guys kind of been after that loss last week?
I mean, Ethan, he wants to put on himself a lot, and I mean that goes for a lot of the guys just trying to take fault for the stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we have to do our job, and none of us played the way we should have against James Madison, and it's up to us to recognize that, and it's up to the leaders to call that out. And Ethan's obviously one of those leaders, so that's what he was doing. And I think the biggest message now going to ULL from Ethan is just forgetting that game now, put it under the rug, but learn from it. And I think that's what we're doing, and I think we're doing a good job of it.
As I talked to Coach about, sometimes when you go through a loss like that, it actually could be beneficial for you guys as you move forward. Do you get a sense that this week that you guys have been more focused, more lasered in on what you guys need to do after coming off such a loss last Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel good, obviously, and we would have loved to win that game and not go down that way. But at the same time, it definitely puts things in perspective. Definitely helps you think about the things that you're doing incorrectly, the little things. Because, I mean, obviously we practiced hard that week. Obviously we did, but we didn't practice hard enough. And obviously we didn't do the details enough. And obviously we're letting things slip. And those things that, if you're winning, you don't think about them. If you're winning, you're not really thinking about, oh, that guy was late. Oh, this guy wasn't wearing the right stuff for the game. Like, you're not thinking about that stuff if you're winning ball games. But as soon as you start losing, those things are eye-opening. And those are big details that add up. So.
When did Coach tell you guys that he had slipped a little bit in terms of those aspects, and that that he and the coaching staff were getting back to what needs to be done for you guys to get back to where you were playing earlier this year, and the small details about every little aspect to get you guys ready to win on Saturday? Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, obviously Coach Beck's our leader, but it's a player and team. The leaders have to call that stuff out. It's not Coach Beck's job to see which guy's wearing the right colored socks. You know what I mean? It's our job as players. It's our job to make sure no one's wearing dumb jewelry on the sidelines. It's our job to make sure that everyone's focused on the game, nothing else, no other distractions. So it's crucial that Coach Beck helps us out in that aspect, but at the same time, it falls back on the leaders of the team and the leaders of the program.
Anything else for Dick? All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good luck Saturday.
Appreciate it, man.